support him. He said, well, he's going to come up here to speak for the first time, and he's a little bit nervous, but we like that because he's a very, very successful man based here in Reading. Operates through his organization called Mayfair Commodities, a major international import and exporter, and he has been so for the past 25 years. By the way, David, nice to see you. How are you? Wonderful, good to see you. So please help me bring up Drew Batty, all right, based down from Reading. Nice to see you, Drew. They are all looking forward to it.
Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And I appreciate to see that there are so many people who want to come and learn something that I have learned in the last 25 years on how to export. And the introduction that was given by Charles, and to follow on with Mr. Ole's example, is achievement in itself that he has done. Anyway, I am Drew Batty. I'm no Omar Sharif, but a lot of people say I am. But I am a lookalike. I run, and I'm going to talk about how to export, because not everybody of us are fortunate enough to be determined and have the vision that Mr. Ole has. So I want to share in this next 20 minutes my experience of how to import and export in particular, because like Charles said, Africa is a place where the Chinese have taken a lead, the Indians have followed, and what stops Africa to be on the export front? There are challenges, there are information which people lack and they don't know, but hopefully I will, in this next 20 minutes, try and give you in a summary what I have learned. First of all, why me? In my 25 years, I have had a passion of import and export. And the reason I've had that passion is because it brings me into contact with people of different beliefs, with different ideas, and different way of doing things. And that introduction, that cultural introduction and the way things happen is a passion. I enjoy it. And when I get up in the morning, it's never a burden that what did I get up today or nothing. Because I know the day is going to bring some sort of challenges to be faced, and something good which will come out of it, or some challenges I've got to overcome. And the people that I meet all along my way. I have imported and exported from here in the UK to India, from India to Europe, from Africa to India. And the products that I have done are like electronics, consumer electronics from here to Dubai, office furniture from UK, where you have all these call centers closing down here and call centers going and setting up in India, which I think everybody of you will be well aware on the phone calls you're getting in the evenings. I have sent container loads of furniture from the UK to India. From Africa, we've done exports of leado and magneso into India, and imported back into this country things like textile dyes, spices, Indian furniture, and some niche product called guava, which is used in a lot of the drinks, into the shale gas drilling, etc. So those are the products I have done. So I've got a very wide range of experience in a number of fields of importing and exporting. And I'll take you through these are the products that I have done. Some of you would recognize African products like cashew nuts and tea clogs, easily available, and the imports that I have done, then why would you say that, look, what is it to export? I've given you a small introduction of it. At the end of the day, you want to do something which is going to make you money. Yeah, there's no point in doing something which isn't going to give you the money. But while you take that drive and that vision and that follow that dream of yours, you create extra benefits for the people around you. And they are your people, immediate workers, and your suppliers. Workers in turn will help your community because they'll go and buy services and products from them. And it benefits the country which you are in and exporting from, because that is going to give that country the benefit of balance of payments, positive balance of payments. So for example, our friend Mr. Ole Ole exporting out from Nigeria, when he makes a shipment out from Nigeria, he is paid Naira to his workers, to his colleagues, to his suppliers. And when he sold the product to UK, he is getting sterling in return. So obviously that's benefiting Nigeria in terms of balance of payments. And the whole world is dependent on international trade. You know, whether it be from the very, very old Roman times to the Egyptian times, trade has always been there, because not all the items are available in one country. Some countries have got oil, but they don't have food, so they export out oil and they bring in food. So international trade has always been the basis of human civilizations out of each and every country. Once you know that that is what you achieve by going into the field of exports, the next question would come out: what hot products you want to export? What hot products do you want to export? Now, God has given, I believe, every country, every community something quite unique. In my travels, I've found that that has been the case. Whether those products, those items are natural items like spices, cocoas, timber logs, chemicals, minerals. Those are natural things that are easily available, and that, you know, people can identify what it is. Next item is that people might be making certain things within your community. It could be people are making some sort of a special furniture. And I'll give you an example. Recently I was in Rwanda and in Kigali, and when I went up to one of the timber yards, the people there, the government had set up works of woodworking area where there were people who were making fantastic chairs and solid hardwood doors. Now those complete machinery set up, complete people are knowledgeable in doing it. That was one of the things that I could identify straight away, to be able to be exported out from Rwanda to Europe. Lovely solid hardwood doors. Now you can see how well the construction is in this country. But this is just an example of when you open your vision, your eyes, and you have that dream that you want to export, these things pop up to you every now and then. There could be items within your community or within your locality where somebody might be already exporting some item. Already exporting. Like Mr. Ole Ole is already in production, he might have a spare capacity, he might not be approaching a country like India, for example, for his products. So you could always go to Mr. Ole Ole and say, look, I will want to market your product in India. He'd be very happy to be dealing with you on that basis. But these are some of the ideas that I'm passing on to you, that how you identify the hot products that you would want to export. When you identified the product, you have to do research. Research and research. Because those products that you are has to be in quantities that is available, which is in container loads. There is no benefit, there is not going to be that much profit or that much joy if there is something which is less than a container load. So you have to identify. So that identification is done by looking at, like I have given the example of being in Rwanda and looking at these woodworks in places that are making these hardwood doors, is to say, yes, this place can provide me a container load of doors of these sizes. Is to identify the products that there is sufficient quantity regularly available for you to work on the export side of it. Whether that product, once you've identified that product, you now do the research to find out whether it conforms to international standards and trade standards. And we have a very, very good, excellent tool available to us in the modern world called Google. I call it Grandmother Google because it knows everything out there. And you can easily identify and do your research on this. Once you, so for let's take the example of these doors being made in Rwanda whether those doors now are available as a product, can you now package it in such a way that it does not get damaged in any way when you ship out? That is again research. You then identify the packaging material that you would use. Does that conform to international standards, regulations? That again, Google will come and help you on that side. So research again in this field would help you a lot and eliminate any problems that might come in the future. Labeling. How do people prefer to have their labeling on this? Do they want to have certain codes, certain marks, certain barcodes from, if people like Wix were wanting to buy these doors, they might say, look, I have a barcode on it. So again, that research element would come into handy. If you don't know where to look at the barcode, again, your friend Google is going to come in and give you that help of barcode. So this now tells you that why you're going to be exporting. You are looking at the hot products. You've done the due research for sellability in the containers. Now what happens is you need to find out your specialist product, that there is a growing demand for it. What I mean by that, if you had started your research and your export when in the UK, the whole industry of construction and manufacturing, property construction is in a downturn, and you try and export some products here, there'll be no buyers. This happened with me when I imported textile dyes. The industry in the UK was finishing. It was shrinking because they did not want the element of contamination and all the issues about waste disposal and things like that. So I brought in textile dyes, and I struggled to sell textile dyes. The textile dyes used for coloring your fabrics and clothes. I struggled. Then I realized that you try and bring a product which in that country the industry is shrinking, you will struggle like buggering. So now if the construction industry is picked up in here and somebody was to import a container of doors and knock on the doors of, say for example, the target audience, you are going to get easy buyers for this product because the market is picked up. So how do you identify now who you're going to go and sell your doors? International trade has, each item has a harmonization code on it. Each product in the world has harmonization codes. That harmonization code is used to identify a country that is exporting the product and the country that's importing the product. So how do they identify what it was? So these harmonization code are used internationally. It's a standard format which all countries use, then they identify. Say for example, if Rwanda exported dose here, there was a harmonization code for that dose, so that the UK knows that it imported X quantity of product from Rwanda. At the same time, Rwandan Revenue Authority knows that this container, this product was shipped out of Rwanda. So this harmonization code is useful because it provides certain benefits, and to Africa it provides the most favored nation aspect to it, because by providing the GSP, if there's an element of duty that's applicable, that duty becomes less because it has come out from Africa, and Africa has got most favored nation status. I'm not saying all African countries, but most of the African countries. You can identify the harmonization code free of charge by going onto the Europa EU website, and that will identify your product, and it's a good source of information because there's research, and this is where you get your research done. In UK, you can buy that information from a company called UK Trade and Statistics, and that's the email address for that available. Now this company in the UK, they do charge for that information, but you can easily get that information from the EU website. Once you've got your harmonization code and you've got your product already sorted out and you've done your packaging and everything else, you need to identify who is your customer, who's your actual customer who's going to buy this item. You might identify it, yes, we've got B&Q and Wix, but there might be other people who might be in this field. How do you actually identify genuine current importers? You get that information from UK trade information. This will tell you, especially in the UK, they identify each and every product, and UK is quite happy to pass this information of who the importer is. And they will give you the importer's name, address, and it also provides you what they have imported in a certain month, in a certain quarter, whether one container or one item or whatever. So that's the source of information that's available. Similar source of information available from Trade Atlas for the USA. And for India it's Zuba, but this is not the only source of information because these sources of information keep on changing. So again, research. In the EU, they don't provide, like Germany, if you wanted to identify the importer in Germany, you don't get that information. You have to write to the appropriate body. But if somebody is interested, then I can provide that source of information. But you have to write to them, they then say, yeah, fine, genuine, whatever, and then they give you that. Whereas in UK, it's easily available. Then, once you have got the source of your customer, now you know who your customer is. And you have identified your customer. Through research, through going through the various websites, you will not get all the information. So you will have to get additional information, like the telephone number, email address, correct address, and that again from Google research. Once you've got your customer details in full, and you've identified that, yes, I've got my customer details, I'm bringing in these doors from Rwanda and it's going to be exported to be to the UK, what do? You just don't pick the phone up and tell your customer, oh, I've got some doors coming in from whatever. No, you will sound very unprofessional. So what you have to do is you have to prepare an offer sheet. A very small, short A4 offer sheet. The offer sheet on the left hand side, you've got the product, you've got the quality, you've got the quantity assessments. These details you include in your offer sheet. This will also identify shortfalls in your research. If you haven't made the appropriate research, this will you'll identify that you need to do further research on this. So that offer sheet is ready, and you are now ready to talk to your customer.
Drew, you gotta wrap up.
Yeah, sure.
Wrap up.
Now you've already done that research, you've got everything. Now you talk to your customer with that offer sheet, and you make that offer sheet. Now you talk to them. Make sure that when you talk to your customers, that they already know your product, because like I told you, they are real importers. They might not have a website or whatever it is, but since you've got that real importers data from the UK trading industry or any of the sources, you now talk to them. You should be aware that the customers knows the product better than you do, because they're already in that field. I'm new, because I got in from Rwanda and everything. So you look at these points, and your approach has to be very, very friendly, very, very courteous. And if they ask you certain questions, don't just make up. Make sure that you tell them you will be getting the appropriate answers, and you follow up. Always follow up, because first phone call you will not get anything. You have to keep on constantly doing the research and following up. And because you don't know when your customer will be on the market for your product, because they might have been let down by somebody else, and you're ready for your product, so you do it. And if you are successful in doing this, this is the reward you will get from it. I hope I've shared this with you, and it's been knowledgeable, and you've gained something from it. So if you do need to ask me questions further on, because this is just a very small summary of it, and let me know, and I'll be out there.
You need any help? We'll be your hands.